Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. Okay, so this week alone, the liberal left has defended the terror organization Hamas. The left has defended the violent gang MS-13, whose motto is kill, rape, control. And the left has defended socialism, which, along with its offshoot, communism, has killed over 100 million innocent people in the last century. Comedian John Oliver says, what's happening in Venezuela, socialist Venezuela, where there's no toilet paper, where people are waiting hours and hours in line for a loaf of bread, where young people are gunned down in the streets for speaking out against the government, where children are dying in hospitals because there are no more antibiotics, where 74% of Venezuelans have lost 20 pounds each in the past year due to lack of food. All the while, the government seizes private businesses, fiddles with prices, and guts the legislature, the people's representation, with a stacked Supreme Court in the favor of the tyrannical leaders. John Oliver said what's happening in Venezuela is bad, but we can't blame socialism for it. Watch.
It has been hard to keep up with events in Venezuela due to the hurricane of that we've all been dealing with here. Although, if you follow conservative media at all, you may have seen it frequently painted as the inevitable, dire consequences of a socialist government. But what is happening in Venezuela is not just extremely important, it is absolutely worth paying attention to, because this is not just a story about socialism. There are plenty of socialist countries that look nothing like Venezuela. It's a story about epic mismanagement.
Epic mismanagement? Yeah, the government of Venezuela took a booming economy and managed to ruin it and caused the collapse of the nation by implementing the epic failure that is socialism. But here's a question. Why do liberal elites like John Oliver want to defend socialism? Why is the left denying socialism? Why does the left like socialism? I don't see John Oliver redistributing his wealth to everybody who wants a piece of his paycheck, and I'm pretty sure he'd rebel if the government tried to force him to fork over his wealth to government bureaucrats. I also don't think he'd like standing in line for hours on end for a loaf of bread, or being hauled off to prison for making fun of the president. That is what happens in Venezuela. That's what happens in socialist nations. Let's be very clear here. The government in Venezuela has seized 1,400 private businesses in the past 20 years. They claim commerce belongs to the ruling party. What do you call it when the government takes control of industries? That's right, the definition of socialism. Any various economic and political theories advocating governmental ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods. And what did the government in Venezuela do with the money they stole when they seized these private businesses? Oh, that's right. They used that money for massive government welfare programs. And when the economy continued to tank, the Venezuelan government seized more businesses, more private industry, and instituted price controls. In 2016, the economy in Venezuela shrank 18%. The unemployment rate was 25%. People who criticized the government were imprisoned, shot, or silenced. The murder rate in Caracas is now one of the highest in the world. What's happening in Venezuela is terrible. John Oliver got that right. But it's not failed socialism. What's happening in Venezuela is socialism. And here in the United States, we better beware politicians and talking heads who defend it. And that is my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a good night.